So, like I said, like, the philosophy is winning, my friend, right? Philosophy is winning, Ruben. And he wants to talk about the system, the philosophy. Listen, the philosophy is an amazing word to use in football. But anyway, but like, why you don't change? And he's playing 3-4-3. Let's not forget that. Like, I think the only managers who were able to do well in that system in the Premier League was Antonio Conte, and you could say to some extent Thomas Tuchel when he won Chelsea the Champions League. That's the only managers I can think of who've done well in that system, that 3-4-3. Except like many teams have figured out that system, how to play that system, how to cope with that system. So, Conte won the league with that system, 3-4-3, but then after that he's been figured out. Similar thing as also to Tuchel. So, he wants to say, when I want to change myself, I will change myself. Excuse me, you're not winning games. You're losing games. And you're telling about, I will change my philosophy when I want to. I'm sorry, what a stubborn guy he is. That's so stubborn from Amorim. Right? I've never seen managers in the past, even top managers like Guardiola, Klopp, Ferguson, Mourinho, Wenger, Ancelotti. I've never seen those managers say that this is my way, this is my system, that's it, we're not going to change at all. Neither of them have done that. Yes, most of the times they're playing in that way, but at some point in their careers, in their managerial careers, they're able to be adaptable, they've been able to be flexible. Amorim is none of it. He's none of it. And yes, you might have to change your mind because the guy is, you can clearly see he's looking for the sack. And yes, I understand his emotions. I praised him in his emotions, how he feels before the Burnley game when he says, sometimes I love my players, sometimes I hate my players, etc. But when he's saying, you have to change your man, and then what he said after the Europa League final last season, I'm sorry, you can clearly see he said also, this is the worst Manchester United side in history, and some of it is right, but you can clearly see he's looking for the sack. And let's not forget, Amorim is not. Yes, and this United problem has been going on for years and years and years, but not like this. It was not this bad. It was not this bad, like I said, under previous managers, as I said before. So, 4 points in 4 games, which is the worst start to a league season since 1992 and 1993. It's the same season they have won the league, but let's be honest, United are not gonna win the league this season. So, but anyway, he's suffering more than and he's saying that he's suffering more than the fans. So again, I would like Amorim to be a bit more flexible, a bit more adaptable, right? A bit more adaptable and a bit more don't be so stubborn, because that's what he's doing. He's so stubborn. He's not changing his ways. Bro, you're losing games. You lose football matches. It's not like United, let's say, losing games by the scuff of the neck. They're dominating games and they're just losing or they're dropping points because of a refereeing decision or bad luck. No, they deserve to lose. They deserve to be bad in this way. It's not coming from luck. It's coming from pure quality. So, and you want to tell me, I'm not gonna change my philosophy? By the way, what's his philosophy? Amorim? In the last season, we all said, okay, he just came in, he had no preseason, no transfers. Okay, let's give him time. Now this season, saying that, I'm not going to change my philosophy. So what's the philosophy then? What's the philosophy? Being lazy? Nothing? No philosophy, nothing? Doing nothing? That's lazy philosophy. So, and yes, people will say that, you're criticizing Amorim because United have been bad for this and years and years and years. Listen, I've talked about Ineos and those people in the owners that have themselves to blame, and the Glazers and those people, they've been, they've done nothing to do. They've not helped United. They've damaged United. That's what they did. I've talked about. Now let's talk about Amorim. We can't every single game about United. We can't say, we can't only talk about the ownership. and the players, because we all know they've proven they're not that great. They've proven it. No matter what players you bring in, but at some point, the manager has to take some blame. You know. Listen, if United, let's say, they had an okay start, and they were, let's say, in the Premier League, last season they finished, let's say, 8th or 9th, and they had a similar start to this, I don't think we would be as hard as Amorim we are right now. But you look at his record since he came to the Premier League, it's shocking. I think he's won 8 games in 31 or something like that. You know, he's incredibly inflexible. That's who he is, inflexible, Amorim. You know, so yeah. But and let's not forget they've got Chelsea coming up. They've got Brentford away, which proves to be not an easy game at all for anybody. And then they've got Sunderland at home, which they should win. And then they go to Anfield, and then they play Brighton, no easy game. And then they go to Nottingham Forest away, not easy game. Away to Tottenham, and then yeah, that's it. You know, then they've got games where they should be okay after that. But from September 20th to November 8th, except Sunderland at home, all of the games they play are very difficult, and they've had a poor start. So let's not act like, you know. And Amorim, listen, if United are still struggling and if they are 14th or 15th come the 8th of November, I'm sorry, Amorim has to be sacked. He has to be sacked. I'm sorry, like, he has to be sacked. Like no manager in United was this bad. Like, was this bad with finishing 14th and 15th? What is this? This is not United. You know, so yeah. Now let's move on to La Liga. Enough talking about Manchester United and all these bad teams. Barcelona smashing Valencia 6-0. Goals from Fermin Lopez, 2 goals from Rafinha, 2 goals from Lewandowski. Total domination from Barcelona. In the first half, I don't think. I would say that they were good as well. I wouldn't say in the first half they were bad. They were good. They were winning 1-0 goal from Fermin Lopez. But second half they were more locked in, more clinical, more ruthless in the second half. They destroyed Valencia in the second half. They were more ruthless and more relentless in the second half. Like I said, goal once again from Fermin Lopez, and I can understand why some clubs like Chelsea went for him. With the quality he showed, he was fantastic. Rafinha, you know, he suffered that punishment by Hansi Flick, who's been ruthless this weekend with the comments he made regarding the situation of Lamine Yamal and also what's his name, and also punishing Rafinha. And Rafinha responded really well, coming in, scoring 2 goals. Lewandowski coming in off the bench as well. You know, Hansi Flick, as some of the managers this weekend, even the managers in the Premier League and Serie A and La Liga, they've made it rotations. They've made some rest to the players because they've got games in the Champions League in midweek. You know, he put Rafinha, Dani Olmo, Lewandowski on the bench, and he brought them in, and they were fantastic. So, you know, very, very good performance from Barcelona. Quality performance. They absolutely destroyed Valencia, and they were more ruthless the second half. They absolutely, you know, annihilated them. Valencia, they've got work to do, but anyway, you know, he even rested the goalkeeper. You could say, because, you know, sometimes he might play Garcia, he might play Chesney, or, you know, etc. So Hansi Flick. So, but yeah, like, very, very good performance from Barcelona, the quality performance. And I want to ask the question here, because I know Barcelona fans, you know, they have to know. And yes, he's played like Garcia, you know, against Levante, against Real Vallecano, against Valencia, and he's played also against Real Mallorca. But is he gonna play, you know, Garcia, the goalkeeper, every single game? He's not been bad, but is he gonna play him every single game? Is he gonna play Chesney at some point? Is he going to play Ter Stegen at some point? Let's not forget that. So, you know, we don't know. Like, sometimes I think, you know, it's going to be similar situation last season, because Ter Stegen was playing a lot of games, and then he had the injury, and Hansi Flick was sort of taking goalkeepers. But let's see. Let's see what happens. So, yeah, but you can clearly see that the Barcelona players respect Hansi Flick. They are like, okay, we have to be careful here, because Kunde received a similar punishment. He was late in training, punished as well, and you think like, okay, what's Hansi Flick gonna do to the club captain Rafinha? Once again, he was punished, and as a club captain, even though Rafinha is a quality player and responded well in the second half, you cannot be late to a meeting, especially you're a club captain. But he responded that very well, and Hansi Flick shows to the squad that he's the boss. No matter it's the club captain or whatever, same treatment. So I like that for Hansi Flick a lot. So and he was. I think he was a bit upset at some point leading up to the Champions League semi-final or quarter-final, where some players were late. So he's very ruthless. That's the German discipline, like typical German discipline from a coach like Hansi Flick. So yeah, he's been ruthless and he's showing that he's the boss of Barcelona right now. So, but yeah, very good from Barcelona. Very, very good and quality performance. And then they go to Newcastle away on Sunday, which is not going to be an easy game. Serie A, AC Milan win the game. Atalanta win 4-1 against Lecce. Roma lose 1-0 to Torino. AC Milan beat Bologna 1-0 thanks to a goal from Luka Modric. Obviously he's had a great career at Real Madrid. Getting old, to Serie A, some players do when they get older. They may go to MLS or Serie A, and they find their feet. I'm not saying Serie A is a bad league; it's a very good league, but it's not the same as, let's say, La Liga or the Premier League. But yeah, Modric scoring the winning goal for AC Milan. He was proved to be decisive for them, so well done to him and to AC Milan. Paris Saint-Germain, PSG, Ligue 1, they beat Lens 2-0. However, some downside, 2 goals from Baracolla. However, some downsides is that another injury happened again to PSG. Another injury for Kvicha Kvaratskhelia, who's having an injury, which is one of the downside again, because the injury woes continue for Barcelona, for Paris Saint-Germain. Desire Doué, Ousmane Dembele, etc. Kvicha now. So, and then they've got Atalanta at home on the Wednesday, which they should win, but it's not going to be easy considering they've got the injury problem. And then they've got Marseille away, which obviously the big game between these two always. So yeah, and I saw Luis Enrique cutting his hair, and glad to see him on the pitch managing the team. But yeah, he looked a bit funny. He cut his hair. You could clearly see the accent that he has had a lot of effect on him, in his hair, in him personally, because he looks very funny when he's bald, honestly. But the shoulder problems, that's why he had to take care of his left hand. But yeah, glad to see him back on the pitch, and hopefully he'll be 100% okay and fully good, and we're gonna able to see him pumped up. Because I remember a similar PSG manager had some problems before. I remember Thomas Tuchel, in Champions League 2020, where he also had problems. He had an injury, something like that, and then he was not able to stand. He had to sit down and manage the team when he's sitting down. So so I remember a similar situation. It's not the first time it happened to a PSG manager, but. Anyway, I'm not gonna make fun of that. So yeah, another win for PSG in the league. They have a good league, but obviously what it matters, they've got Atalanta coming up, and it's gonna be the first Champions League game they play as the UEFA Champions League champions, because obviously they won the Champions League last season. So yeah, that's it, guys. Thank you. I wish you have a nice day. See you tomorrow, and have a nice day. Bye.